You need to be able to pinpoint where you're going to get certain resources from. You need to be able to pinpoint your people, right? And your products and how you're going to push it and who you're going to push it to.
4 P's. Come on. Welcome to another episode of the Work and Play podcast. I'm your host, Arylle Young. But if y'all notice this lovely lady right over here, she is the host of the Art of Transitions podcast.
Yes.
Back for another round of the Work and Play podcast. Dr. Erica, what's going on?
Oh, man, you know it's always something going on.
Always. Listen, this girl is free as a bird, and I love watching her all over the... Okay, where you going next week? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This is about to be dope. We are back, number one, to give y'all another podcast. But number two, we both are on our journeys of leaving the 9 to 5, right?
Yeah,
and we have a lot to share.
Yeah.
So this is going to be not like any other episode that you're used to. Sit back, hang tight. We have a full-blown episode to give you, right?
Get your popcorn.
Right now. So we talked about this like last week. Success loves speed, right?
Yeah.
Because we talked about this last week. We had a regular conversation. I don't remember the purpose of me calling, but we ended up saying, okay, so let's record this episode to talk about, one, us being content creators, but then two, the real life journey of leaving your 9 to 5. So Erica was like, I'm down. What time? Let's get it. And here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Erica, we are here to have a conversation about like our journeys in. We have some topics here to talk about, but before we get into it, when it comes to like where we are today, how would you like highlight your journey of being a content creator? Did you know you were going to be a content creator? Like, what makes you excited about having this conversation today?
So I'm excited because I feel like we're in alignment, right? Anytime that you work on things, anytime you work with people, we met at the 2022 Black Pod Festival here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah.
So when you're in motion, they say an object that's in motion will stay in motion. You also meet other people who are in motion when you go to different conferences, seminars, and things of that nature. So first, I want to thank Ona.
Shout out to Ona.
Yes. For having the Black Pod Festival here in Atlanta, Georgia. So just giving us a space where we can actually meet and, you know, just have like-minded conversations. That's the first thing I want to talk about. And really just say, go to festivals, whatever you're interested in. If you're interested in books, go to conferences. If you're interested in podcasting, if you're interested in, you know, vending machines, invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Pay the money and go to these different conferences. Meet these people. Meet the people who are throwing it and follow them. So do your research before you go.
Yeah.
And while you're there, don't just sit there. Make sure that you're actively learning, that you're actively engaging with people who are in these different places so that you can learn how to do it too. That's the first thing.
I'm not going to knock nothing that she says. And I'm going to tell you, she lives by every single thing that she says. Let me tell you what it was like when I met you. First of all, when I met Erica, we sat down next to each other, and I told y'all on the last episode that I did with Erica that it was a straight energy. Your vibe was already lit, but she was supportive of the podcast from day one. I was like, Art of Transition, tell me more. Because you know, on the Work and Play podcast, we talking about people who are transitioning all day. And I was like, what is this about? Then you go on her page, it's fuck this job. And I'm like, what is all this about? Like, but from there, it's like you said, momentum. And as a content creator, having someone who has similar energy, who's on their grind, who has a dream, a purpose, it just gives me like, I guess it's like, it gives me that vibration to just look at you doing what you're doing. And even though even if we're doing two completely different things, it gives me energy to get up and do. You know what I mean? Create. Now, content creation, I think, is a tough one for a lot of people. So I feel like it's really important for us to talk about our journeys as content creators. because like in 2017, I was not a content creator.
Really?
I looked at my Instagram as like a toy. You get what I'm saying? Like I woke up in the morning, I looked at my, what do you call it? Shade room, but like shade room-esque. Before shade room was shade room. You wake up in the morning, you see all that ratchet stuff. And that was all I thought of content.
Wow.
People said, like, if you thought about a YouTuber, that was a like a insult. Oh, you're a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Because I was in corporate and you're a doctor. You were a doctor.
Yeah, I'm still a doctor.
You're still a doctor.
Still a practicing board certified family medicine physician.
So before you got into content creation, where were you at?
I think that I've always been a content creator. So I'm also a writer. I'm a creative. I wrote my first book when I was maybe like 8 or 9. My mom had me in typing classes. You know, she would buy blank books for me. I was raised in a church, so we had to do speeches. You know what I mean?
That's right.
But I think it's a matter of perspective when you think about the concept of content creation. It's written word, you know? It's public speaking. It's skits. It's acting. It's oratorical contests. All of this, like your life can be content depending on how you frame it, how you record it. So I used to write all these poems on Facebook, and one day I had a homeboy, he was like, Erica, why don't you just write a book? It's like, you got all this stuff on Facebook, somebody else owns this platform, but if you write a book, you know, that's your book. You created that, and you can allow people to feed into you and to continue to just nourish you financially through that. Like, you've got some compelling work here, and you're putting all on Facebook for free. This was probably like 2010, something like that, when he told me that.
You really have been a content creator for a long time. So for him to have said that to you 2010, you wrote your book, you've been a writer. When did you start doing like digital creation?
Talk about digital creation. I would say that probably started maybe, when did I do my first ebook? It probably started with like an ebook. I don't even know what year it was, because the first book that I wrote, I just typed it up, got the document, paid for everything myself. Digitally, I would say I was 33. So it's probably like 6 years ago when I decided I'm going to take all my photos and all my poems and create an ebook. So for my birthday, it's called 33. So for my 33rd birthday, shout out to Dr. Tiffany Clay. She let me come up on her rooftop of her apartments. We did a poetry reading session.
Wow.
And that's when I launched, I think, my first digital product. Yeah.
So you've been creating digitally since for 6 years now. And shout out, like you said, to Miss Clay there, because you are really good at like leveraging relationships. I feel like if we got into this conversation for me, we'll get, I'm gonna pause, because I think you just gave me an idea. Okay. So shout out. So you've been in digital content for 6 years. Yeah. And then it went from the ebook. She's got a podcast, y'all. You got to check that out.
The Art of Transition podcast. Subscribe on YouTube.
Check it out. Her social media is popping as well. And those of you guys who know me, I just got into digital content probably like 2 or 3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. It wasn't until I knew, first of all, that social media could pay. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't know either.
I had no clue. I wasn't out here in these streets. I think I didn't even know what I wanted to name myself. I kind of was just going here and there. But I decided to quit my job, and then I realized social media could be a help for your business. So my journey might be different, because like I remember you on the podcast, you shared your journey as a creative. I didn't identify as a creative. I was I don't know if it's right or left brain, but I'm data analytics. I was born and bred data analytics, straight math and finance. I never thought about a pen and paper, but then I realized creativity doesn't just come with colors and paintings and art. You can be creative by just coming up with a program like I did. Yeah. So that is what led me to quit my job. I created social media content. Okay. The podcast shortly followed. Okay. Because I wanted it to market my podcast. Because I wanted to market my business. Then the YouTube came. Then the monetization came. And I think the rest is history. So business kind of led my content creation journey. You know what I'm saying? Like it became an outlet, but not in a way that maybe some people who are clearly creators and have been creators since you were young have known. So I think you guys are in store for a really dope conversation. I think there's a difference between us, but we have so many different overlaps.
Yeah.
And so we have some topics for y'all, right?
Yeah.
We thought of these beforehand. Y'all know I ain't no planner, but we thought about these beforehand, and we want to give you guys some really good value. So hopefully you can grab a pen and paper, or you can just watch this the first time and just take in the content. But we do hope you leave with some value so that you can actually have this for your content creation journey. So Erica, first thing, we kind of just got into it, but off the top, why did you become officially a content creator?
I became a content creator because I wanted to see myself in spaces that I had not seen anyone that looked similar to myself. I would go on YouTube and things like that and just search for various things. And at the time, this was like several years ago, you didn't see a lot of people in color talking about businesses or entrepreneurship or creating low content books or creating how to make your own movie, how to create your own network, anything like that. So I really wanted to uplift my friends who were in these spaces and doing these things, who weren't really getting the shine at the time that I thought they deserved. That's why I became an official podcaster. You know, it really started off as a fun journey. I didn't even know you could monetize. I'm gonna tell you how ignorant. I didn't even know a podcast was like a business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just started off recording my friends. We would have these conversations about progression and how do we push the culture forward and what is it that people need? What do you want to do? So we would have these conversations all the time.
Yeah.
So these are just relationships that I started with. So I started, I think my first interview was Sean Crawford. People call him Taz. So Sean is now over in Medellin, and he's actually launching different exploration trips and different things that you can do over in Colombia, different packages that he put together. You could do something for fun, you could do something for business.
So you recorded him on Fuck This Job? The Art of Transition?
Yeah, so the Art of Transition podcast started off as just audio. So I'm literally like sitting there. There's a program on your phone. You could just use it. We sitting in there talking. So I wasn't even thinking that I could be doing this visually until one of my friends, shout out to Jay Bird, shout out to Revolution Jones. She was like, hey, you might want to move towards some visuals now.
Yeah.
You're doing a pretty good number of interviews.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until she said that I actually thought, like, I could have used the same cell phone that I had in my hand to be recording video. So that way I'm getting the video and the audio.
Yeah. And when did you start thinking about monetizing your content?
I didn't really,
you know what?
Didn't.
So the beginning, in the beginning of what you said, it came from a place.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of podcasters, one, I'm different than a lot of podcasters. I remember when we met at that event, my biggest frustration was like, so why are we not like, who was talking about the money? Where's the money room? And I remember one podcaster, shout out to Jonathan Jones, he was talking about how to make money as a speaker in a podcast. So I was up in there. But one thing that you just said was, a lot of podcasters don't know that there's money because they came in similar to you with a passion. You know what I'm saying? A passion for creation, a passion for impact, a passion for sharing this conversation.
Right.
And needless to say, our journey is similar. I just wasn't ever thinking about even starting a podcast. I probably to this day have some conversations where I just would cut my recorder on and just do this and just have the conversation.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm sure if I went back in my contacts, if I went back in my files, I would have that. But I didn't think about content creation until I realized there was money to be made. I mean,
there's a lot of money to be made.
It is. It is. But I think that with us finding each other, we both had similar passions. And for you, you've always been creating content, but you didn't think about the money till later.
Right.
For me, I was thinking about the money, but I didn't start creating content until later. And I think that's what's, like, you guys might even be in the same situation where you might be a whole, like, file of content before you realize that you can utilize it on different mediums, right? Like, you can use a visual podcast. Some people want to, like, oh no, this is audio only, but if you think about it from a monetary perspective, you are only gonna just make more money with the same effort. Yeah. So I feel like that's pretty much what the two sides of how people get into content creation. I don't know. Like, I mean, I feel like, am I missing anything? Because I think...
No, I don't think so. And I think that it's important to realize that even if you do just have an audio podcast, that while you're filming or recording your audio podcast, you could still be filming with your phone. You could still be filming for BTS. You could still be filming for B-roll to help promote your audio podcast on these different social media platforms.
Yes.
So there's always a way to get creative with what you're doing and with what you have. And I just encourage people, you know, do what you can with what you have. And then you'll have more. You'll get more. It's going to grow your territory because you're utilizing all your resources. You're not letting anything go to waste.
Yes. Say it. Say it. So that brings us to the next point, which is lessons we learned as content creators. Now, you can take this one first because I have a few. We didn't pre-rehearse this, so you guys are gonna get the raw nitty-gritty of this conversation. But what's one of your lessons? I can't say the top because we didn't rank these.
Right.
But what's one of the lessons that you know as a content creator?
So one of the top lessons is that perfection gets you nowhere. So perfection will actually paralyze you if that's what you're striving for. The stuff that you really want to go viral or that you really want people to pay attention to, sometimes nobody will pay attention to it. But it's that one video that you just happen to upload, you didn't even think about, you forgot it was in your phone. Yeah. That's the one that goes.
Yeah.
That's the video that takes off.
And just the rest is history.
Yeah.
That's real. I would say my first lesson that I would share is being intentional. When you are, so if you look back at like Mr. Beast on YouTube, he's a really, really big podcaster, and he just became the CEO of Twitter. Ooh. Yeah, crazy. But he just dropped a documentary about himself on YouTube, and he was a kid in his room recording content. Just crazy content. And even now his content is crazy, but he's spending $1 million to create a video. Oh, wow. Yes, it's ridiculous. For me, I think that for a long time when I started creating content, I was just creating content because I didn't know that you have to be intentional with who your audience is, how they're going to receive the content, how it might even be perceived. And so when I think about the first lesson that I would share, is that you have to be intentional with why you're creating the content. Now, if you are a young kid in your house and you don't have a business, I'm talking specifically to business owners, and you know you want to create content for that reason, before you hit record, if nothing else, just say to yourself what the intention is. Right. Who is the receiver of this content and how are you going to help them? Because I think that will, one, help you connect with your audience even more. Two, I think that will help you generate revenue even more, because there's nothing worse than looking at content that just don't stick. Like sometimes when you watch content creators and they're just, it's a lifestyle marketing type of content. Right. So they're recording themselves in their Lamborghini.
So I can't relate to that, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Especially if your audience if that's not what they aspire to do. Yeah. Let's say you're a life coach and you want to sit in the Lamborghini real quick, but I just need to heal from my heartbreak. You get what I'm saying? Right. There's a disconnect. So I feel like my lesson would be having intention before you hit record and then let that go, because you don't want to start overthinking and then get into that perfectionism, which is what Dr. E was talking about. Yeah. What's another lesson that you've learned as a content creator?
So another lesson I learned as a content creator is that you have to collaborate. You have to collaborate. There's more power in confluence. There's more power when you have a current going. So when you merge those currents. Like it's more power. So you have to collaborate. So I would say make a note of people that you know that you could collaborate with, and then people that you aspire to be able to collaborate with. And you start putting yourself in those positions. So you start going to where these people are, and you start really engaging with them. So if you know it's somebody that you want to work with and they live all the way in, London, hey, you got to engage with what they have going on.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might have to go to London. We're in the age where things are virtual, and you can still get a lot done virtually, but there's nothing that takes the place of being able to shake someone's hand and be able to feel someone's energy. So you have to set goals when you collaborate. You have to know, okay, well, we're aligned in this way. This person, I know they value me. So I think that we share X, Y, and Z values, and we can create X, Y, and Z.
I love it. That's prime example of why we're here.
Yeah,
like
literally.
Straight up. I'm gonna take that lesson too, because if you see my content, you know that I ride solo, and I don't ride solo intentionally. It's a personal development thing.
Got it.
When I tell you that, I think Americans are very individualistic, and so we do a lot of things in silos. But I think around the same time as when I met you, I'm opening myself up to the fact that there are other content creators who have similar vibes. And so with this situation, even us sitting here on the couch together, there's so many ways. We even talked about what our intention is before we hopped on this video, because we wanted to make sure that we were in alignment in how we were going to collaborate, which I definitely would say your spirit probably led this whole interaction, because I think that without it, I wouldn't have thought. I thought about it. I told you about it, and you were already there.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was me extending myself. But you were like, yeah, let's go, which made it so easy. And so I guess my lesson would be, more people are willing to create with you than you think. Yeah. I think a lot of people get in their head and they don't reach out for those valuable collaborations. Because whatever, you in your own head, you got self-doubt. But we are all in a journey. Yes. I would do a 2B. I would say 2B is that content creators are human. Yes. Isn't it crazy that we are in the age where influencers are celebrities? And just like, Elvis could walk around and be like, people see these influencers and micro-influencers, macro-influencers, and they pick that energy, and some people pick the energy and excel. Some people pick the energy and get overwhelmed, and we can talk about that another day. Right. But content creators are people. And now they might be really good at identifying what parts of their life they want to share, so that they can keep some of it sacred to themselves and then monetize on the rest. But at the most part, they're pretty much regular. We are pretty much regular like you guys. And so we have our own journey. We have our setbacks. We have our triumphs. And it wasn't then until I started collaborating that I realized, oh, you're just like me. Exactly. So I think that's probably would be my lesson number 2 in this whole thing. You can always jump in when you're ready, because I can go on. What I really admire about you as a content creator is your consistency. Oh boy. When y'all look at the Work and Play podcast, you look at Aryle's page, there's consistency. There's a video, there's YouTube, there's Instagram lives, there's a LinkedIn page. You are really covering all of the bases. So your consistency and your flow is what makes me excited to work with you. So it's one of those situations where I know that I got an interview with Arylle because boom, I got the email, boom, I got the follow-up text message, and I was able to save the appointment through the link that you sent me. That's real. I'm very different as a podcaster. I'm still DMing people. I'm still sending text messages, because a lot of, I think my guests are people that when I started off, they were people that I personally knew. And that's how we communicated. But it speaks to the systems. I think you're so much more advanced, and it speaks to the systems, that you've put in place and the discipline that you have. That's real. So as a content creator, I want people to know that you don't have to be consistent
for 12 months out of the year. You don't have to be consistent every day. You just have to be consistent to your system or consistent to your plan.
Yo, I'm almost speechless because I realized in this moment that, so one, thank you for that comment about consistency. Because for a long time I dissociated with it. You get what I'm saying? Because I did create a system, and I was very like anal about all the processes because I wanted to make sure the guests had a dope experience.
Right.
But what you're speaking to is the vibration that you create, that you can create like dope relationships with people when you do the things that you're just good at. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? When I look at you, I'm like, you authentically, you show up, you just a vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
You get what I'm saying? Like, as a podcaster, and we were talking about this before we started the conversation, I want to be a resource. I might not be the coolest podcaster. I might not even be the best podcaster. But I know that the systems in place can help someone like you with just the energy, the connections, the personality to just do what you do. Let the system do the rest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think that's really, really dope, because ultimately what you're saying to me is, and what you guys can take from it, hopefully, you know, is that people want to work with you when they know you'll show up. Mm-hmm. And that's really all that matters. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to be the best at what you do. You just have to show up. And if you show up, then people will know, they can at least trust that you're going to be at the appointment when you said you're going to be there.
Yeah.
Because this entrepreneur journey, some people aren't serious.
Lord have mercy. When I tell you, I mean, the thing about it is, like, we're human, right? We're podcasters. We have businesses that we run. We have bodies to take care of. We have sleep that we need to give to our bodies. But there's certain things, it's just like, keep your professionalism on point, right? When you think about creating content, yes, you know, you have friends that you're going to come, you're going to interview, but these people carve out specific times out of their life to come and share. Like, we're never going to get this time back, right? Yes. And so it's important to keep that professionalism, keep that consideration up. So some things are going to happen. You're going to make mistakes. You know, I think I was talking about at the Self-Care for Podcasters talk that there's been episodes that I've recorded and I messed them up. The audio might have messed up or something. And that type of stuff happens all the time. But if there's something that you can control, like, I like how you have a system in place. So there's no errors with addresses. There's no errors with time. There's no errors with dates, because you got the email. All of that stuff is in the email, and it's consistent.
And once you get it right the first time, you don't have to worry about it again. I will say that. But I've had issues. I've had issues. I've had a whole podcast and I've not recorded. Like, isn't that the word? Like, we did all of this. And I think, to your point, kind of going back, I feel like by the time we get to on the couch and we've recorded, I think I've gotten a little bit of like credit in the reserves that people aren't like super through with me. They're like, I was excited about this interview. I know you do these. So I think that they look at it and they go, I understand. They've given me grace. Yeah. Because I've done the same thing, girl. Recorded a whole episode, forgot to turn the mics on. So all you have is like,
I've done that too.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Girl.
Give yourself grace as a creative.
Come on with the lessons.
Yeah.
I feel like we should go into that one. I don't know if that's a lesson for you, but I think that when we met at the podcasting festival, you were talking about self-care as a podcaster. Mm-hmm. And you also have the gratitude journal, which I have and I've been using. Yeah. And I feel like that's another lesson. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not the best person to give a tip on it, but what I will say is not beating myself up is important in those moments where you don't record or you have to recreate or you have to keep repeating the same clip over and over and over again. When you said that you were going to launch at 2:00, but you're still trying to figure out how to get it out by 5, or thinking that you hit record, not record, but publish, and it didn't publish. Yeah. Grace. not beating myself up, being grateful. These are real lessons that continuously kind of sink in for me. I didn't write a book on it, so I'm gonna just throw it back to you.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where as a content creator, you know, as a human, you have to understand that you're gonna make mistakes. So owning up to those mistakes and saying, okay, well, what can I put in place so that this doesn't happen again? So you're thankful for the experience. You don't beat yourself up about it because now it's helped you grow. So you put a checklist in place now before you start recording. Or for me, like I actually cut an episode and say, hey, let's stop. Let's look at this. Is this, you know, how you like it? Do you like the way that you look? Do you like the way that you sound? Because I've had people, you know, after recording call me and say, hey, I don't really like the way I sounded during this interview. Can you make sure you don't publish this? I say, fine.
Really?
Yeah.
You like had...
Yeah, I killed some episodes before, just, you know, at the request of
fair.
The person that I was interviewing.
That's fair.
And I feel like when you have that type of energy, you want to make sure that what you're putting out is something that, you know, the person is comfortable with as well, like your interviewee is comfortable with.
That's real.
That's the important part of it too.
I think you're right. You did I'm gonna share a lesson, but you did a post on social media the other day.
Yeah.
It was like how to treat your guests. And I think a lot of podcasters, a lot of content creators are so individualistic and so, I want to say selfish, but just you're thinking about me
and the program. You're thinking about the podcast. You're
or
thinking
making
about the
money.
products. Yeah.
You might even be thinking right, but you're not thinking about the most important thing, which is your guest.
Yeah.
And I think that you're right. Like, so being able to consider those things, but you, as you mentioned, giving yourself grace, you know, being okay with mistakes, and then putting things in place when they don't. I'm gonna be honest with you. If I could really like be transparent, I feel like I be making mistakes. Now audio, those don't happen very often. But maybe in life, I'll be like, now you know you did this last week. You know what I'm saying? And I think that if anything happens in 2023, it's learning from the mistakes so they never happen again.
Yeah.
But that's a personal development thing.
And that's one of the things too so we have to be grateful for the moment. And I think that sometimes it's easy to get bogged down in looking at the product. It's easy to get bogged down in looking at your final goal. So in my process, a part of my life is, you know, I want to create things that can help people. So recently I created a gratitude journal with all of the mental stress and everything that people really deal with on a minute by minute basis. I said, what can I do, you know, to help people that aren't making appointments with me, people that aren't in Atlanta, people that'll never see me? What can I create to help people be able to express themselves, to help people be able to focus on gratitude, knowing that when you focus on gratitude, you're gonna glow, right? So when you focus on gratitude, you're gonna glow mentally, you're gonna glow physically. When you start to thank your body for being able to get up and down out of a chair, you realize that, hey, I might be able to go ahead and do those 10 push-ups to grow my physical health. I might be able to go walk for those 30 minutes to grow my physical health. When you start to thank yourself, you know, for your body and for where you are. So focusing on gratitude and journaling has actually been proven to help with mental health. So I've been spending a lot of time as a content creator focusing on that and helping people understand, you know, the power of journaling, the power of being able to reframe your thoughts, the power of being able to collaborate with people who understand your value, who will show you that same gratitude and understanding reciprocation and how that will just grow into something that you really don't have any control over.
100%. I just thought about a really dope idea, which I probably need to just implement in my own life, if nothing else. But what your gratitude journal did for me was, like, I have my own like typical routine or process of like self-care. But there was a day where I wanted to journal and I just wasn't feeling it. I had an event that day and I said, you know what, just go for a walk. And let me just grab my gratitude journal. I was in a funk and I sat down in the park. I had a pen and I just opened up the book and it just said, it's a prompt, you know what I'm saying? I don't even remember it was today I'm grateful for X, or if it was like, I am most excited for X, but it allowed me to think about something that would go with the prompt, and immediately it shifted my perspective. Now, why do I say this? As content creators, we have to create even when we don't feel like it. Mm-hmm. You have to create good content even if you don't feel like, hey, this is Arylle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I know this to be true, that a good mood is only a perspective shift away.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is, using your journal, one, gave me a quick perception shift. Mm-hmm. And then as content creators, if you find yourself sitting up to record something, or it's the time to do a solo podcast and you don't have somebody's energy to build off of, using something like a gratitude journal right before you record can really snap out of that negative energy, so that you can get into a space immediately and start vibing. Because you can tell when somebody's not in a good space. Like, I read content. I'm like, ooh, I bet I wonder what's happening behind the camera. Because I can feel the energy. People can feel your energy when you create content and you're not in a good space. Mm-hmm. And shout out to ET. He's like, you can't wait until you feel good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I guess you're right.
It's true.
Using that gratitude journal to like switch your perspective right before you go into content creation could be a routine of yours. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to be consistent with content creation, but you know that sometimes you have anxiety and things like that. I really do believe that just because that experience I had with your journal, it could be something that people use as a tool to just stay consistent, get over those like negative energy, that negative vibe.
For sure. So the journal that we're talking about is called I Am Well, All Is Well, the Gratitude Journal. And that's available on Amazon. So if you search for that, my name is Dr. Erica Jones, ERICA JONES, and you'll find it. It's pretty vibrant. There's also affirmations on the front. And it's up to you, ultimately what you do with different tools or resources that you have.
Yeah.
But I think that another tip is just use what you have to get where you want to be. And then you're going to grow into, your other microphones and cameras and studio setups and things like that.
Yeah.
But you just start where you are.
I held myself back so I wouldn't interrupt, but I was thinking about the Players Club.
Yeah.
Use what you had to get what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's true.
I couldn't help myself. I was like, use what you had to get what you want. That's where my mind went.
Yeah.
Okay, so, this is the next one. How much money did you blow or invest in your podcast?
Oh man, I have some very expensive lessons.
Come on.
Oh man. So I can tell you a story. I use my cell phones to record my podcast. Arylle has lots of heavy duty equipment.
So start off that way.
Yeah.
Did I record I didn't record your episode on my phone?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So you started on the phone too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right. So I record on my phone. So I have episodes right here on my phone. And I'm in this event. So it's a huge event. I mean, like hundreds of people are coming through. So I'm trying a 2-camera setup. And I literally took the case off one of my phones to set it up on a tripod. Boom. Broke the whole case. Now, was I able to still record? Thank God I was. Mm-hmm. So we'll just say, back of the phone repair was probably, I don't know, $250, something like that.
Yeah. With the deductible and all that.
So we got that.
Mm-hmm.
We got microphones that I didn't really know how to use, that I just don't even use anymore because it was actually one microphone, right? So typically when you're recording, it's me and my guest.
Yeah.
I needed 2 microphones, right?
You only had one?
I only had one. What else?
Listen, right here. Put that bad boy right here.
Yeah, you're right. It's just it was a lav mic. So,
it's okay.
Yeah,
I got you.
yeah. So, you just go through different things, not knowing what to order, what to use.
Yeah.
I bought a Shure mic. It was just one, and I didn't know how to use that either. It was hard to use. So I actually ended up, I got my money back from that one.
You're like, I'm taking this sucker back.
Yeah, so I sent that back.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we talk about time
Yes.
that I spent and invested, thousands.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can never get that back, right?
No.
So the equipment was your biggest sunk cost.
Yeah.
And then time. But then I feel like I've looked at a couple of your episodes and it's like in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like I guess what it looks like is like you were in the moment, which I'm only creating a story in my head of what Dr. E's podcast life is like. But did you specifically carve out time for those things, or were you in the moment? You said, hey, let's go record this podcast.
No, for when I have guests, I specifically carve out time. Like, okay, we're going to do it at this amount of time. It's typically only going to be, you know, from X, Y, Z to 1, 2, 3, right? So I'm like, oh, it's only going to be, you know, 30 minutes. But then, okay, sometimes the day happens and yeah, why is my phone full? So I wasted time trying to delete stuff off of my phone so I could create more space. So we talk about the money that you spend just storing your episodes.
Yes.
That's a whole nother.
Cloud storage is a whole different. I think that's one investment you definitely want to make early if you know you want to be a content creator.
Yeah.
It's podcasting, content creation, social media. Video space takes a toll, and the quality of doing it on your phone, like 4K, that it goes fast. Yeah. So I definitely agree. What about your membership? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The events that you've gone to. Yeah. Think about it. You know it's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even think about that.
It's an investment. I think that when I think about everything that Dr. E said, yes, equipment, I would actually say no. Because I remember I came into it thinking about money. Yeah. And how was this going to be profitable for me? That's why I started on my phone. I did get a $99 mic at the top, and somebody donated my light. I eventually invested in a lot of this equipment that you see now, but before I started off really, really cheap from the equipment standpoint. However, what was expensive for me was all the systems that I was using. Yeah. So, and that's why I get into systems a lot, because I tried out Calendly, I tried out Acuity, I tried out Schedule once. Of course, I tried the Google Calendar way first. And then I'm looking at all these different ways to create forms. So there's Airtable. There's all these different systems that I use to create like this churn table process. And that's where my expenses went. So if I'm honest, I think that $99, of course, both of our membership in Black Pod Festival and the events that I went to. I did get mentorship. I think I paid about $2,500 for a content creation bootcamp.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, twice.
Got it.
Now that I think about it. So,
big ticket.
Yeah.
Big
but when
ticket.
I tell you guys about making money on your podcast, that really is a testament to the money that I was making. So early on, once I knew that content creation was a business, it didn't take me long before I learned to invest in myself. I was being kind of like my boyfriend says that I'm the garage girl, because I can figure out how to like tinker, but I get so good at rigging something up that the right way, like the expensive equipment that it takes to do something, I learned to do it the rig way. I don't know. I have to learn how to do it the right way, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like when you used to knocking on the door twice, you know? So between the systems, my equipment that I've leveled up, it's probably been a good like $6,000 to $7,000 invested in my podcast, and I've made a return on investment within the first couple months of my podcast before I even monetized. So it was about advertisements. It was about creating processes again to bring people in and like show you what my podcast is about. Have a checkout process, have a follow-up process, because you reach out to somebody for a sponsorship. Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah. Crickets. Yeah. But if you reach out to them and follow up with them, they generally want to invest in your podcast or your content, but they don't they just ain't thinking about you.
Yeah.
They're not thinking about you.
Yeah,
so,
people are busy, especially business owners. When you're working with business owners, they are being pulled over here, over there, by the leg, by the hair. I mean, literally.
You think that they got it all, right? Now they might have the cash, but they have a life just like you, and they're trying to figure this thing out. So you gotta give them grace because of that fact. So
and follow up. Your follow up is your follow up is key. Cause I forget. Like, I have a lot going on.
Girl.
Arylle has a follow up text messages, a follow up emails. How?
The system. Let me tell you. So I'm going to tell you this. I have realized, this is how I know that my calling is to be a resource to podcasters. It's really because I overthink, and I've made overthinking my profession. So because I created this system for myself, I sat down in a room and I built out this one size fits all. And it's not one size fits all, it's customizable. Okay. Right? And it's a system for all podcasters to be able to, from end to end, manage their podcast. So that follow-up system, when I'm not, so here's the thing. I created a follow-up system because I'm not always in the mood to send a follow-up email. But if you wait till you're in the mood, you're not going to get that money. Yeah. So I created a system for you to, one, reach out to your guests. Because at the end of the day, what is this for? Your guests and your listeners. Yes. So reaching out to your guests, follow up with your guests if they don't book. And then it's two, to reach out to sponsors, follow up with your sponsors if you don't hear back from them. You get what I'm saying? Listen, from the top, what are we here for? Set our intention. Okay. Now, once we do that, it will manage your entire guest process. So all of the emails that you get, which we are used to when we use Calendly and stuff like that, it's all within one system though. Okay. So from the moment you reach out to the communication that you have, like before you show up for your interview, and then even the communication after your interview. So now I think our relationship has organically been consistent. Right. But there are people who, I hate to say, like, it was an out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. So after the interview, it's like, oh, I haven't heard from this person and they haven't heard from me. And so creating a system where I reach out to people and let them know I'm thinking about them. Yeah. And even if it's system generated, once you respond, now we get to have a communication. You get what I'm saying? So having that communication, guest communication, is important. Editing process. You know that, like, girl, now if we talk about money that we didn't even talk about the money that we invested on editing. Yeah. Have you hired an editor yet? I had an editor. How much did you invest on the editor? Yeah, I want to say maybe 2 racks. Yeah, maybe on. So if you look at some of my first episodes, shout out to 6 Sense Foundation. Come on. Shout out to Khalil. Yeah, I invested some racks in my editing. I quickly figured out, like, hey, I can't keep doing this without the revenue on the front end. Right. That's real. Yeah. 2K. So for you, you're at 2K plus memberships plus the equipment. Yeah. Okay. So we were somewhere around the same dollar amount. Yeah. So editing, for me, I think I invest because I have a VA. Okay. And VA is virtual assistant. Yes. I promise you. Yes, a VA has its own expenses, but if you are intentional about making money with your content, then I promise you it's worth it. So I think over a course of the 2 years, somewhere, dang, I'll just say $800 a month. Oh, wow. So $800 a month, and your content looks amazing. I appreciate that. I mean, listen, if you're going to charge somebody $1,500 for an advertisement, gotta give them their value. Yeah, true, true. So that's kind of been like my investment. I think now we're at 10 or so. I can't even count, but I think that even some of the lessons that we learned, I think that if someone sat down with us right now, we can cut their expenses in half just because of the things that we learned. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Like, I don't think I would tell a new podcaster to invest in all the crazy equipment if they don't have to. Right. Like, if you know you already have a $100,000 business and you know that your influence is up there, so forecast wise, you're saying this podcast is going to make me $10K a month off the gate. Right. Okay.
Did y'all hear what she said? She said forecasting, right? So
listen. Well, okay, I come from the corporate world, but when it comes to entrepreneurship, I was like, I think the biggest headache I had was not being able to forecast my income.
Ooh, say that.
I was stressed. I was like, where's the money gonna come from? That was a huge stress of mine. But
and that's a part of building a plan as well.
Yeah.
You need to be able to pinpoint where you're gonna get certain resources from. You need to be able to pinpoint your people, right? And your products and how you're gonna push it. And who you're gonna push it to.
4 P's. Come on. Now let's switch gears a little bit because we have on here so we both quit our jobs. You know, the great resignation is this whole big thing. And one thing for podcasting, and the same thing goes for us leaving our jobs, there has been trends ever since, right? So the great resignation was one, and we both left our role. Now, I didn't know I was going to be a content creator when I left. But I don't think you knew you were going to be a podcaster when you left your job either, though.
No, I didn't at all.
Yeah.
Before leaving, I actually set up my LLC and I actually put feelers out, for different contracts. And I set up, different professional things that I knew I would need, to be able to just make that smooth transition into my own business. So I started doing locums, which is basically like freelance work for physicians. So I was traveling back and forth to California and working out there under California state medical license under my own medical group.
Yeah.
So before you can start working in another state, you got to get a state license, right? And then you have to start looking and being able to forecast like, well, am I pretty healthy? Am I going to need this type of insurance? Do I want to buy a house? Anytime in the next couple of years, because there's certain things that you need to be doing when you actually have a W-2.
You have to. What she's talking about is like when you are an entrepreneur, it takes a lot more work to get something so simple as a house or even a bank account. You get what I'm saying? Some of the things that you don't think about, that just, here, let me just put my pay stubs in. You don't have a pay stub when you're an entrepreneur. And your bank account might not be as consistent as the W-2 was, even if you were only making $100 a week. As a business owner, I've known millionaires who can't get certain like apartment complexes because they don't have a W-2. But it's like your bank statement clearly shows it. So what she's saying is there are some things that you need to leverage while you have your 9-to-5 that you can absolutely leverage, especially as a content creator. And an entrepreneur in general.
Yeah, for sure.
There was something I was going to say. It was a content creator as a 9-to-5er. Now, some of the pages that we love wholeheartedly talk about consistency, talk about quality, like all the investments, they traveling. Now, Erica is the real deal because she is traveling as an entrepreneur and she makes it work. Like when I talk about resourcefulness, I need the playbook on resourcefulness.
Gotcha.
But 9-to-5ers, they have consistent content. The only reason that you would not be consistent as a 9-to-5er content is if you allow your mood to get in the way because you have consistent influx. Okay, mood and I'm sure life extenuating circumstances, but that's a whole play. To be a content creator with a 9-to-5 because that's your constant investment in your show.
Exactly.
Until you blow up.
And to any business really. So we've never been people to knock the 9-to-5ers, right? So essentially what we're saying is that you can make these transitions into all these different realms with the proper preparation.
Yes.
Really, no matter what your circumstance is, it's about what you're carving out, like what you're being intentional about doing with your time. So no matter how long it takes, you could chip away at any goal. When you start to think about, okay, I have this goal, I want to write the script for this, story or whatever it is, even if you're writing a paragraph a day, even if, you are recording 5 minutes a day, you end up meshing those up into, 3 days is one episode, however you do it, or a 5-minute episode. People's attention span is short, especially, for people who may be 9-to-5ers who have to engage every minute of the day.
Yeah.
But there may be people who can listen to a little 15-minute, inspirational podcast while they're doing all of that.
That's real.
So it's just important to really keep in mind that you could do whatever you want to do. You just have to plan for it.
You have to plan. Y'all getting 2 in 1 because with both me and Dr. Erica, we both transitioned out of our 9 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a 9 to 5 for either one of us. Like our hours were our hours.
Yeah.
And then we both transitioned into content creators. So you get 2 in 1 in this conversation. So I really hope you're picking up what we're putting down. There was something that you were talking about when it comes to 9 to 5, creating content and leveraging the 9 to 5. Oh, the Great Resignation. So I wanted to ask you, you've learned a lot, I'm sure. Like you learned a lot when you first started this journey, right? So you started adding value before you even left, but it's been a few years since you've left.
Yeah.
What's something that you've learned, now that you're on the other side of the Great Resignation?
I would say is just keep your options open. So around, we'll say 2019, I was doing most of my traveling. I was doing most of my contract work. And I was actually approached by somebody I was doing my contract work with to be an employee. And at first I said no. It's the same company, same people. At first I was like, no, like y'all know I wrote this book called If This Job, The Art of Transition. And they was like, yeah, we love your work, So this is an example of just being flexible. And I've always been able to thrive being flexible. So I actually signed on as an employee after doing all of this contract work.
Did you regret it?
No.
You loved it?
No, it wasn't. The work was the same almost.
Was it more freedom?
I got paid more.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
You can't beat that.
Yeah, I got paid more, and it was a consistent amount of payments. It was a consistent system, but it was the same people. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where you have to be flexible. What else did I have going on? Well, I still had contracts going on, right? Mm-hmm. So at any point you decide, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Hey, it was nice working with y'all. You can still have contracts coming in. Mm-hmm. You don't have to fit inside any box. So when you get done with that relationship, you still have this relationship and this relationship over here. It's about how you manage your time, more so having a perspective of, I want to be able to control my time, or I'm okay with giving a certain amount of my time. Yeah. So now I think the conversations, when we move past what the Great Resignation means, we get to a point where, people are focused on controlling their time, right? So now we're in 2023, where some 9 to 5ers are still 9 to 5ers remotely. They don't have to be at home. So the conversations are going to continue to change as we talk about, employment, as we talk about freelance work. Do I feel like we're moving into a freelance economy? Yes.
And don't mention AI.
Right.
With AI being in the picture, I think 9 to 5s and work from home and freelance work all have different meanings, or will have different meanings.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, getting caught up in those terms, it's important that we understand what they mean, but we also just focus more on how much control we have over our thoughts, over our ideas, in terms of if we're able to monetize our ideas, or are we giving these to a corporation that's going to be able to put a machine behind it, but you no longer own it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a matter of prioritizing what we want in our lives when we talk about, the Great Resignation, and understanding like why people were resigning. Why did we leave our positions? We left our positions because we wanted a certain thing, and maybe they weren't offering it, so we went to go create that, or create something totally different.
Or you just weren't living your full self, your full life. I think that so we both left before the Great Resignation, but what I think the Great Resignation did for a lot of people is sit your butt down, think about your life, and think about what it means for you and individuals around you. So I think that a lot of people were not living fulfilling lives, or they weren't feeling like they were making an impact. And so similar to those people who left during that time, I wanted to dissociate with everything that I did in corporate. I was like, forget this degree, forget all them years I did at the company. I want to be a different person. But as we know, like you can, people do change. But your core stays the same. The impact that I wanted to create, the purpose that I wanted to have, the way that I could create, like there was no Arylle turning into a artist overnight, you know what I'm saying? But the creativity of me wanting to create spreadsheets. If you looked at my journal during the time where I was working, my journals are weird, I know, but my journals were graphs.
Really?
Weird. I promise you. It was like,
you can journal in different ways.
I promise you, y'all would look at my journal and be like, what's wrong with this girl? But let's say I went through a breakup.
Okay.
I would put on an axis, heartbreak, or like healing and, you know, I don't know, financial freedom or something like that. And I would say, okay, as you don't heal, right? You don't want to be active, and so your revenue goes down. And I would do those type of processes. So I say all that to say, my old life before the Great Resignation really revived itself into this new age as a content creator, because I created the system, and it's called the Podcast Machine for those of you guys who are interested. And of course, you're going to have an opportunity to purchase it if you're interested, or even learn more about it. You can click the link below. Don't worry. We're going to have all the stuff in the description. But that is when I turned into a resource.
Okay.
That's when I said to myself, like, you don't have to dissociate with who you were as a 9-to-5er. And I'll be honest with you, for a while, I definitely, even though I hold very strong personal views on a 9-to-5 and corporate in general, I no longer want to make people feel bad for having a 9-to-5. One, there's no healing from it. Two, I can't even coach you to a place where you don't have a 9-to-5 if you feel judged. And I'm sorry if I made anyone feel judged for having a 9-to-5. That's my own learning in my content creation. Like, I might have really created some content that was jarring.
Oh, you know what I'm saying? I see.
Like, I didn't have anything that made people just disconnect from me or unfollow. But I definitely created some content that even made the people in my circle be like, what you talking about? Like 90% of my friends were 9-to-5.
I see.
So I think that when I think about my content and my intention in front in the beginning, I didn't have one. So I created this system, and I realized if I hadn't had that 9-to-5, I wouldn't have the skill sets that I have to teach, you know, entrepreneurs how to make money, how to create a system, how to look consistent. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are all things that I am grateful for, gratitude in my past life, right? And I'm also grateful that I let go of some things in my 9-to-5 life as well. So yeah, that's, as a content creator, the Great Resignation definitely showed me a lot. And I'm glad that we're at a point where the new normal is starting to be defined. You know what I'm saying? Because I think during the time where the Great Resignation was happening, you had a lot of lost souls who were just quitting jobs because everybody was quitting jobs. It's like, why are you, like you said, why are you quitting your job?
And people gave me so much, oh man, I caught so much flack behind the book that I wrote, F This Job, The Art of Transition. That's available on Amazon. So it's F***CK This Job, The Art of Transition, Dr. Erica Jones. That's on Amazon. If you read it, I'm not promoting laziness. I'm not telling everybody to stop doing what they're doing. I'm not telling everybody to quit their job. It was having people understand that you have talents and that you have skills. And the fact of it is, there is a certain percentage that's been documented of pay that increases when you quit one job and get another one.
Come on.
I never said don't stop working. You know what I mean? But I did get a lot of drama behind the title of my book. So that came out around 2018. It was jarring for some people. And I didn't mean to alienate anybody or to make a 9-to-5 or a job seem like a bad thing, because I know I might go get a job one day. It just always depends on where you are in life, you know?
I think that's probably, if we go back to a lesson, that's true. A lot of people aren't real with themselves enough to just say F this job and get to the next stage.
Or they don't have the resources. Or the courage or
the courage to even say it.
Yeah. Or to even think it.
Come on. One thing that and this is coming up for me right now, but we have the responsibility as content creators to paint a certain picture. Now, if we paint a picture that makes people feel bad, that's what we will do, right? If we paint a picture that empowers people to speak up, that's what they'll do. So the fact that you named your book F This Job, a person could take that and realize I've never had the freedom to say that. Because all we ever taught, go to school, get a job, get good grades, go to work. That's all we're ever taught. So the vocal piece of like us being able to sit here on this couch, speak our truth, and whoever picks up what we're putting down, learn how to either change their life or do something, not be lazy, but finally take your power back. That's the power we have as content creators, that truth.
You're right.
F This Job for me is it's a statement that a lot of people don't give themselves the freedom to say.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, a lot of business owners still look at me like, wait, you telling my employees to quit? Get up out of here with that side merch.
But that's real. But if your employee didn't, so yes, everybody needs employees. Entrepreneurs need employees, but if it's a bad fit, or if this person doesn't want to be there, do you really want to hire somebody who don't want to be there?
The whole concept of work is changing. You're right. The whole concept is changing, and it's important that you get your skills up. You got to be able to be flexible in how you think, be able to be flexible in where you go and how you create certain things.
100%. Yeah. So we had a couple more topics on here. I want to bring up highest performing episodes.
Yeah.
I think this is important because when you become a content creator, you focus on these vanity metrics. You focus on likes, which don't bring any income. And then you focus on followers, which may or may not bring income depending on the followers that you have.
Right.
And so when you think about subscribers on YouTube, and even like on Red Circle and things like that, subscribers is a different meaning.
Yeah.
So first of all, we gotta say, what do you qualify as a high performing episode?
So a high performing episode for me is something that's going to spark conversation.
Okay.
Right?
I like that.
So interaction. It's important for me to have my auntie call me, I seen the episode with so-and-so. I really like what you had on. I like what you said. They had some good points. For somebody to call me and say, hey, I learned so much from Arylle from that short episode. I didn't even know there was that type of coaching that was available. Just so interaction to me. So having one episode where people are calling my phone about it, that's important to me. And then it does matter. People are superficial. They look at the number of views. They do. They look at the number of views that you got. So
that's true. And when it comes to sponsors, it's easier to sell a sponsorship when you have those vanity metrics. So let me not make it seem like those don't matter.
Yeah. So, for example, I posted the interview that we did on my podcast. People loved it. The shorts. When we talk about performance. As of February 1st, YouTube is going to start allowing some content creators to monetize shorts.
Really?
So, yeah, that's a part of being intentional.
So that must be before you hit the regular metrics, which is like your 1,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Okay, because on my end, everything is monetized. But I think that's what's dope is if I could have made money on those shorts before I was monetized, then I probably would have been making cash way sooner.
Yeah.
But that's a dope thing for you guys.
Yeah. So I don't know in terms of like what all the requirements are now for initial monetization, but I did just get that email saying that, hey, we're going to start putting, ads on shorts and then, you're going to be able to monetize those. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your highest, highest performing episode and why was it highest performing?
My episode with Big Rube. So Big Rube is basically the voice that you hear on a lot of commercials around Atlanta. He did a commercial for Atlanta United. he has done intros for Future. He's written stuff for 21 Savage. So a lot of the Dungeon Family, the Outkast, Goody Mob stuff. Big Rube has had his pen in all of that.
Wow.
So we talked about all types of stuff. Rube doesn't do a lot of interviews. So I was super excited. And I mean, we talked for hours.
Wow.
One of the things I can say that I wish I did, I broke it up into 2 episodes, but now I wish I would just give him his whole series.
Just one after the other, because he was just dropping some. You know you could repurpose that, right?
Yeah, you're right.
Now that's really a I can't even think of my words.
A gem.
It's a gem, but it's a hack. Because that conversation, you can now split into 10 conversations.
Yeah.
And you can insert a monetization strategy on each piece.
So it's monetized, you know. It's just like, I have not spent the time to chop it up. So once again, it goes back to what you said with the systems and having, you know, a VA and having a system where they can do it for you.
Yeah.
So I can definitely say I've been like literally lacking in progression because I've been doing everything myself.
I feel you. That for me, that lasted very short, because when I went back to school, life was going to go crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, the system that I created was going to make me go crazy. But so your high, that's the one thing that saved me from going crazy. But your highest episode was Big Rude. And that sounds like a ATL gym, honestly.
Yeah.
So I got to check that out.
What about you? What was your highest performing episode?
It was high performing for 2 reasons. One, it was absolutely the vanity metrics. 2, it was my highest monetizing episode without me doing any work. And I'll tell you, I'm gonna tell you why I was so excited. So shout out to Jason White. First of all, the conversation was just dope. I love good conversation. You know, you can't control your guests. Right. You can't control what they're going to share, if they're going to be exciting. You can't even control what they share. You know, like if they're going to answer more than just the question.
Yeah.
So that conversation was just really dope. We vibed well, and I think as a podcaster, it was just golden for me. Now, putting it on the podcast, like launching it, publishing it, we had a deal where we would do a partnership. Right? So he has this course called the Federal Code. On the podcast, we talked about his story. So we just talked about like what he's experienced in his life and how he learned how to do government contracting. Government contracting ended up being this really lucrative business idea for folks who want to be a middleman. So on the podcast, we just talked about his story. We talked a little bit about how he teaches people government contracting, but we did the partnership deal. So in the link below, there is an opportunity for people to get into the course for a discounted rate. And so I've always said that my goal was to create engaging content,
Right.
not have to sell, right, and still make money. So I did all the work, put the content up, posted the link, let the conversation go, and I left it at that. I was focusing on my views, I was focusing on my subscribers, and I was focusing on, in my analytics, I was tracking like highest performing episodes. But I was not looking at the money. Y'all, if you hear how much I talk about now, I was not looking at the money at all. So months later, I went into my little affiliate portal, and I saw $1,700 in there.
Oh,
I'm like, wait a minute. So I'm for those of you guys who got this far in the episode, everybody's not going to hear this, but I'm telling you, that is specifically the play that you can run on all of your content.
Ooh.
I'm telling you, if you get connected with lucrative people, like people who are already vibing, you have products, people who already are doing things out in the world. Like, sometimes you want to just have the conversation, and even then you can monetize through other ways, which I can tell you. But monetize-wise, I didn't do anything besides sit on the couch, have the conversation, post.
The same thing you've always been doing. You're consistent though. This lady's consistent, y'all.
Now, if you put like 2 or 3 more in there, think about what that could do for you. You know what I'm saying? Not like everybody. Like, it's like, so.
You're right.
Highest paid, lowest effort. And in terms of views, when you're guests, so the benefit of having a podcast with guests, as you know, with Big Rob, they have their own following.
Big Rube.
Soup, Big Rube. they have their own following. Mm-hmm. They have their own energy. They have their own momentum. And so their vibration goes everywhere. Because he's doing his own thing, you guys like look up Jason White. He's just gone he's all over the place teaching government contracts.
Wow.
That alone is a case study to help you understand that if you create a process and a system, you do the same thing, but you are intentional about it, you can make good money just enjoying your life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's my highest paid. That's my highest performing. It's not even about highest paid. It's highest performing.
Congratulations.
Girl, thank you. That is why I'm really passionate about this. As an entrepreneur, like, you know this. We solve problems.
Yeah.
And if I'm not solving a problem, I don't necessarily feel as good about what I'm doing. But being able to say, like, we as podcasters, we have passion. We have a story. We have good content. We got connections. And we not making no money. I'm sorry. If I say it one more time, y'all are going to, hopefully you understand, but it doesn't have to be that way. So, yeah, that's my highest performing episode.
Yeah.
I think that pretty much, so that concludes the questions that we have. But when you think about your journey, so you got a couple events coming up, you have a couple products that you want to create. When you think about like why we sat down and have this conversation, and you have any final words to just wrap up, or even thoughts that you want to share, what would you say is your highlight as a content creator that you would want to share to the people?
My highlight as a content creator is being able to put my friends and my associates on pedestals, right?
I like that.
Being able to shine a light on them.
I like that.
It's like, just giving them their flowers while they're working, while they are striving, while they're making their sacrifices. I've just been able to explain and have them demonstrate how amazing they are, how smart they are, how well-spoken they are. And believe it or not, the more interviews you do, the more photo shoots that you do, the better you get at it.
Yes.
So even if you feel like you're not big enough, do the interview. Even if you feel like you're nervous, do it anyway. Even if you feel like you don't have the right wardrobe, go anyway.
Yeah.
The chances are, if you do start seeing the same people and you do have the same thing on, they're not going to remember. And if they do remember, it's just going to help them remember you more.
Yes.
I think it's him 500. He wears the same blue suit, right? He made that as a moniker for somebody to remember him by. So don't worry about how things are going to look when it comes to like the superficial clothing, your hair. For guys, I might not have a haircut. I might need a shave. Just do the work.
Yes. I like that. Just do the work. I would say this, if you guys haven't picked up what I'm putting down, this entire conversation, it's two things. Making money is absolutely of essence. If we're talking about quitting your job.
Yes, I'm learning from you right like I'm learning from Arylle literally, and I'm going to continue. I'm excited about the program that you have.
Let's go. And likewise, right? So the fact that we're iron sharpens iron, the fact that we're able to do what we do best and motivate each other and inspire each other is literally the benefit of collaboration.
Yeah.
There's two things. And because I got to start in content creation because I was helping folks leave corporate, you got to make money. Mm-hmm. But even if that's not your personality, even if you don't want to be salesy, even if you don't feel like you can be, consistent, create a system. Mm-hmm. And if you create a system, and an automated system is even the best, then you can literally do the same thing over and over again with intention and wait for the money to come in. Now, you don't have to wait as long as YouTube will, take to monetize.
You can make merch. I have merch.
Come on.
So that's how I've been able to keep my podcast going, is mostly through the merch.
That's a whole play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So think about it. If you already know you got something good going on, there are so many ways to monetize your podcast. or your content. And I hope you explore those things after this conversation. Now, both of us, me and Dr. Erica, are available. Erica's going to be flying all across the world, so you can catch her in person. She's got some exclusive content, exclusive merch for you to actually grab when you see her. And as for myself, there will be a way for you to work with me. I'm going to provide a link below because I'm going to Nigeria soon.
Let's go.
So this podcast is now going international. Straight up, I'll be doing all the little dances. So this podcast is now, the Work and Play podcast is going international.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm excited about that. If y'all have any questions, Erica, Dr. Erica, where can they find you?
So I have a website. It's DRERICAJONES.com, drericajones.com. I'm on Instagram and TikTok at DRERICAJONES. Just hit me up.
Perfect. If you're watching this video, that means you are in the right place to contact me because every single thing that you need is here on YouTube. If you are listening to this broadcast, you can click the link in the bio and that will take you to all the things that you can find in my YouTube. I am on all social media platforms and my websites, Arylle Young. So ARYLLE, as y'all know, and you'll be able to find me young forever. And if you want to get into the podcast machine, this is an opportunity for you to collab or just simply take a tool that will help you elevate your process, your content creation process or your podcasting process and be great. All right. But until next time, this has been a special edition of the Work and Play podcast. I hope you enjoyed it just as much as I did. But until next week, see y'all later.
Peace.